You're merely delaying the inevitable.
We've defeated some great video game bosses over the years, but we've also encountered our fair share of terrible video game bosses. In this video, we take a look at boss battles from relatively recent games that really missed the mark by a long shot. Get ready for the 10 worst boss battles of the last decade. Dark Souls is full of awesome bosses, but Bed of Chaos definitely is not one of them. Every boss in this game is hard but fair. However, the same can't be said for this guy. Each time you destroy one of the 2 anchors placed on either side of the boss, the floor will crumble away. This is completely random and there's no way to account for it. To make matters worse, you can be swept off the edge at any time by his long limbs. This amount of randomness means you will almost surely die, no matter how skilled you are.
You took the CFR jack. I took it back. I don't care how messed up you are.
We had fun playing Quantum Break, although it had some very obvious flaws. The final boss is absolutely one of the biggest reasons to hate this game. The fight against Paul Serene is completely unfair and takes way too long. You die instantly if you don't evade his many screen-filling attacks. This means you have to watch the same cutscene over and over again. He really is one of the most terrible bosses we've ever seen. If only we could go back in time and erase this boss battle from our memory.
I am Shao Kahn, conqueror of worlds. You will taste no victory.
You will taste your own blood.
Shao Kahn has been a terrible boss in almost every Mortal Kombat game. Fans of Mortal Kombat 9 can certainly agree that this guy is completely broken. This creep is one of the cheapest fighting game opponents you'll ever face. He spams his moves over and over, locking you in animations so you can't do anything. His attacks do a crazy amount of damage, and he teleports all over the arena. The only way to defeat him is to spam cheap moves yourself. It's not pretty, but it gets the job done.
And I will deliver you to the Dark Lord, unspoiled.
Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor has some very memorable encounters, thanks to its nemesis system. However, the fight against the Tower of Sauron certainly isn't one of them. Defeating this important enemy in Shadow of Mordor is way too easy. The whole fight comes down to a game of hide and seek while a timer counts down. The war chiefs you faced before reaching this guy are a lot harder and actually provided an interesting challenge. It's unbelievable that such an amazing game has such a weak boss encounter.
You will never see your family again.
Unacceptable! Absolutely unacceptable!
We really hate the fight against Guilty Spark in Halo 3. Not because it was hard, but because it was absolute garbage. Finally, being able to take on this traitor in Halo 3 should have been an epic boss battle. The robot had been following you around since the first game, and finding out that he betrayed you was a huge deal. However, the boss battle that followed was a big letdown because it was too easy.
Kick his ass.
Reclaimer!
You simply shoot him with a laser until he explodes. What should have been a very impactful moment was over before we knew it.
Your power is astounding. Twice you've cheated death. Yet your ability...
Talking about boss battles that are over before you know it, Lucien from Fable 2 has to be the easiest final boss of all time. You spend the whole game hating this guy and can't wait to kick his ass. However, he doesn't even attack you when you meet him. He just talks to you until you kill him with one shot.
Do you consider that a victory? You're merely delaying the inevitable.
Seriously, all you have to do is pull the trigger. We simply couldn't believe our eyes the first time we saw it. How could you end a game with such a terrible excuse for a boss? We absolutely love Fable 2, but this really has to be one of the worst boss battles of the last decade.
The spire has awakened, and it still has the...
It appears the game is over before it even begins. I'm not playing games, Slade.
Going from bosses that are too easy, we are now entering the territory of bosses that are too hard. Batman Arkham Origins has a huge difficulty spike when you encounter Deathstroke. This assassin is supposed to be a challenge for Batman, but the developers really overdid it. It's the hardest fight by far, and they put it at the beginning of the game. You need to counter every attack perfectly, and we died so many times trying to beat him. We don't blame gamers who simply gave up fighting this unbalanced boss instead.
Fascinating. An impressive power, this. But if you think it's going to save you, you've another thing coming.
Assassin's Creed 2 was a great sequel that corrected a lot of mistakes from the first game. The story really builds up Rodrigo Borgia to be a super evil guy. You can't wait to get your hands on the leader of the Templars. So you spend the whole game learning skills and becoming a highly trained assassin. However, when you finally encounter Borgia, you need to beat him in a simple fist fight.
Let us see what you are made of, old man.
All right then, if that's how you want to play it.
You don't use your special weapons or skills in this brawl. It's incredibly lame and boring and just doesn't make any sense.
The more logical location than a kingdom in a cloud, don't you think? Surrounded by singing angels and cherubim.
Deus Ex Human Revolution is one of our favorite games from the last decade. It also has some of the worst boss battles in the history of gaming. For some reason, the developers outsourced the boss battles to another studio. That was a big mistake, as it is very obvious these encounters were made by the B team.
I thought you would be more formidable than this.
Most bosses are completely unfair for anyone who plays as a pacifist. We would have replayed this game a lot more if it didn't have so many horrible bosses that ruined the fun.
Finish it.
Not until you tell me where Megan is. This is the beginning of the end!
Jasper Bat Jr. is the incredibly bad boss of No More Heroes 2. He has 3 forms and they're all infuriating. In his first form, he just screams and laughs all the time.
Here I go!
His second form is the most infamous one, as he can do a powerful powerbomb and tornado punches that are almost impossible to avoid. In his third form, you can't see anything he does because his attacks are way too fast and the camera is terrible. What were they thinking? Did you beat any of these horrible bosses? Let us know in the comments and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.